All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are talking all about Prince, one of the greatest performers in the history of rock music, one of the greatest songwriters, producers, just an incredible talent. And unfortunately, this week we honor the 5th anniversary of his passing in 2016. And I've got a very special guest that's going to be joining me for that. First, though, let me just run through a little bit of quick Prince history. This is some stuff that happened this week in Prince's career. In 1985, Prince was recording songs for the Parade album, which came out in 86. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes, because there's something that's really kind of freaky that happened with that. In 86, Prince had the top 2 singles on the Billboard singles charts. Kiss was at #1, and the Bangles' Manic Monday was at #2. So he was pretty much owning the top 10 this week in 86. In 1990, this week, Sinead O'Connor had the #1 hit with Nothing Compares to You. In 94, Prince scored his very first #1 hit single in the UK, Most Beautiful Girl in the World. In 2004, the Musicology album came out. It had been released earlier in digital form, but this is the week that it came out in physical form, CD and LP. And 5 years ago, this week, Prince sadly was found dead in an elevator in the Paisley Park complex. And so it is unbelievable that we are 5 years past that occurrence, and such a huge loss for the music industry and for his fans all over the world. And to help me talk about that is a good friend of mine, Jason De La Torre. How are you, my friend?
How's it going? You trying to get me to start the waterworks right at the beginning of the show there, Alan?
That's right,
Come on
man.
now.
So how's it going? How are you doing today?
Oh, it's going great, man. Can't talking Prince, celebrating the life. That's what he would want us to do, is to celebrate his life, not mourn his loss. Although
right,
it's kind of crazy where things like celebrating his life and the new music that's coming out that the estate is releasing every year now.
Yeah,
it helps ease the pain of the loss, but it also makes you realize what we've lost, and it's tough.
Yeah, without a doubt. And let's just talk about that really quickly. Talking about the albums, the music that has been coming out from his estate since his passing. Very recently, like in the past week or so, the next one has been announced. A complete, full studio album that he recorded and never released. Welcome to America.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It's going to be interesting, because it was kind of funny, because he did an entire tour based on the Welcome to America album, but never played a song, never released the album. And from the 60 Minutes interview that they had with a few of his proteges, this is an album that, even though it was written in 2010, it's just as valuable today as it was back then, because it talks a lot about a lot of the things that are still going on today.
They released a video of the first single, which is the title track. How did that song how did it strike you? What did you think about it when you heard it?
Yeah, very jazzy. And
Yeah.
I think he was kind of going through his jazz phase where, he was like he had the jazz groove going, and he was
Hmm.
also kind of talking, almost doing the whole, jazz man, to the jazzy band in the back, and you're kind of monologuing to that. I
Yeah.
thought it was kind of cool.
It's a very interesting song. If people are familiar with the stuff that was coming out around that time, particularly the album 2010,
Hmm.
which was a really good album.
Yeah.
I don't think it was one that really got any kind of commercial presence,
Yeah.
but it was a good album. And I think that this really fits in with that time. So it might not be what people who are familiar with the 80s and early 90s hits would really think of as Prince, but I
Right.
think it's going to be interesting to finally hear this whole album that, I mean, and it's not the first time he recorded an entire album and then decided not to release it because, we have a couple of those prior to that
Hmm.
happened as well.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that we're probably going to be seeing that and discovering a lot more of those. So,
Yeah.
it's exciting to hear. And I know when the estate first started releasing these unreleased tracks, that a lot of folks uh, were a little bit not too cool with it, just
Yeah.
because Prince had always said that he put them in the vault for a reason, and he wasn't quite done with them, and
Right.
they weren't ready to be released into the world yet. But since then, I've actually seen interviews with Prince where he said that when people asked him about the vault, and he'd say, "Well, that's for somebody else to release." And
Hmm.
when he said that,
Hmm.
it made me feel a little bit better about all this music coming out, and
Yeah.
that maybe he always intended that he some of these that he doesn't have to release himself, but
Hmm.
he knew that somebody was going to release them at some point, and he was cool with that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It kind of gives a blessing to the whole thing.
yeah,
Okay, so for folks watching, post away in the comments favorite songs, favorite albums. If you saw them in concert, what your favorite concert was, that kind of thing. If you have any questions about Prince, put it in there and see if you can. Hopefully we can answer it. I think between the two of us, we'll at least fake a good answer.
no, I have a
I know.
feeling that I might be able to answer it, but
I'm sure you will.
I know if it's a protege question, you're the guy, and if it's a Prince question, I'm probably the guy.
Oh, oh, oh! I got my first comment, and Jason, you're gonna love this one.
Yes,
My favorite
Dana.
Prince album is Controversy.
Yes, me too, Dana. You and me, right there, buddy.
That is a good album.
Yep. Oh, I love that album. It's one of my favorites.
Hmm. So
From
tell me
go-
why that's one of your favorites.
well, I mean, the title track is absolutely
Killer.
thumping. I mean, it is thumping. And
Yeah.
then you have sexuality. It goes right into sexuality, which is it has a patented Prince scream, and then it's not. You think the song's about just unadulterated sex, but it's not really about that, you know. But it's got a lot of that in it, and it's like. Uh, and it has like all kinds of weird stuff where it's like the whole tourist 89 flowers on their back, adventures of the AccuJack. What? No flash again? I mean, it's hilarious. It's a freaking hilarious song. and, and then of course the power ballad "Do Me Baby." I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
one of the best songs ever. uh
Which
private
became a
joy
big hit later on
Yeah, Private
with.
Joy has always been one of my
Mhm.
favorite underrated Prince songs. It was so poppy 80s style of a song. I'm actually surprised it didn't get a lot more radio play.
Yeah.
And and I'm not gonna go through the whole track list, but
You
you know,
could.
I could. That's the thing. I mean, Ronnie Talked to Russia. Uh, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
a
yeah.
rockabilly song by Prince. Come on, it was fantastic.
Well, Dana agrees with you that
Yeah,
Private Joy is one of her favorite songs.
yeah.
And my buddy Brad, which I haven't seen in a million years. Hey
Hey,
Brad, how's
Brad.
it going? Purple Rain is still favorite song. Movie scene at the end is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. So tell me what your sort of Prince origin story is. How did you get to be the Prince aficionado and encyclopedia that you are now?
Well, it's kind of a funny story because I have to start with my mom because my mom was an interesting character. Um, she's a single mom. She raised me herself, um, and she loved to go to movies. And she couldn't really afford a babysitter, so she would take me along to these movies. And it would be movies that she wanted to see, and if it happened to be an R-rated movie, she'd just hide my eyes when the naughty bits came on or, what have you. And, and so be it, right? So she took me to see Purple Rain. And, at that point in time, everybody had heard, 1999,
Yeah.
everybody had heard Little Red Corvette, but I had no idea who Prince was. But when you see Purple Rain and you see the rock god that he was,
Hmm.
and I just fell in love. I fell in love with his music. I
Yeah.
fell in love with, his style. I was 84. I was 11 years old. So, I didn't even know how to talk to girls yet. So I'm thinking Prince is showing me the way how to talk to girls. You know, yeah.
Does that
And
mean that you tell girls that they have to get in the Lake Minnetonka and all that stuff?
well, but the Tampa Bay, but hey.
Oh, exactly.
But yeah, uh so he was a major influence from that, right?
Hmm.
And then, I discovered my that, oh my god, Prince has other music. So then I went back and I bought with my own money, by the way, mowing lawns or what have you.
Hmm.
Um 1999, love 1999, and then, oh my god, he has more music. And then, I'd beg my mom for a buck here or there to get, and before I knew it, I had his whole discography up to that point. And then from there on, I just bought every album, and I was a religious Prince fan from there on.
Yeah.
I will say, I took a lot of flack in school,
Mm.
because especially during the love sexy years.
Oh, yeah, true.
Because you got to remember the 80s, Alan. It was macho, machismo kind of nonsense. And, Prince is on the cover of Love Sexy with, a flower and nothing else. Um, the guys are like, you listen to that guy? And I'm like, yeah, he's awesome. You guys don't understand. He's the most talented musician of our generation.
Well, I mean, I remember that incredibly well because at the time I was managing a music shop
Yeah.
in kind of a more conservative area, and when you've got albums like Purple Rain and Around the World in a Day and all these kind of things,
Hmm.
and then Love Sexy comes out,
Yep.
and you're like, what the hell do I do with this record cover, you know, in my
I can only
store
imagine.
because it's Prince, it's going to get play, people are going to want to buy it, and you're like, it was just a weird situation to be in. So here is a couple more comments. A new friend of mine, Phil, says favorite album, Sign of the Times.
Yes. That's
We're
my
gonna have
number
to
two.
we're gonna have to talk about Sign of the Times. That is a
Absolutely.
flippin' masterpiece.
Yes.
Got the recent release Peach vinyl, which is really nice. More of a hits person from Prince. Purple Rain, always. I mean, sorry, Raspberry Beret, always been a favorite.
Hmm.
Love that song.
Yep. Yeah, Raspberry Beret. In fact, that Around the World in a Day is also pretty underrated album. Has
Oh
some
man,
great tracks. The
yeah,
latter is one of the best religious tracks that Prince ever did.
yeah.
And then Temptation is one of the
I know.
weirdest songs that Prince has ever done. And let's face it, Prince has done some weird songs, but that one is an interesting one where he's like talking to God at the end. It's
Hmm.
pretty weird.
Yep.
But yeah, it's also a fantastic song.
Dana has a really cool story, which you saw, about the purple tambourine that she caught during the 1984 Purple Rain tour.
Yes.
And when the Revolution came through on their tour 4 years ago, she had them sign it.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And you saw the Purple Rain tour, did you
Yes.
not?
Yes. Lakeland, Florida, 1985 is right around the end of the tour.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was. It was like watching the movie on stage. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. In fact, it's kind of funny because when the re-release came out, the estate
Hmm.
re-release, and it had the old uh, the old concert from that they used to have on VHS.
Yeah.
I used to have it on VHS. I think every Prince fan had it on VHS, and it brought back so many memories of that concert. Yeah, Purple
Here
Rain.
we
Yes,
go.
yes.
The reissue from a year or so ago.
Hmm.
Incredible. 3 CDs and a DVD. and the one of the CDs is just full of unreleased songs.
Yep.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. So I didn't see that tour. Stupidly, I don't know why. My sort of Prince story is I'm a little older than you, so I was kind of around and hearing stuff on the radio and like TV appearances and stuff. And the first one that I ever heard was his first real sort of like hit that made any kind of presence. I Want to Be Your Lover.
Mm-hmm.
I did not get it. It was not my thing. I was definitely a rock and roll kid, a hard rock guy. I wasn't really, I don't know, it just didn't grab me. It wasn't until the videos for 1999 and Red Corvette came out that I kind of started to think, okay, well, this is still not my thing, but I kind of like it. It was Purple Rain that really grabbed me. And then so I went back and sort of caught up on all the stuff that I should have been aware of at the time, but was still in my Kiss mode and not really doing the Prince stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to do a little catching up around 84, but it was definitely worth it. My buddy Brad says everyone talks about his guitar playing, but what about his vocal range?
Oh yeah.
That is so true. How high and low.
The falsetto is legendary.
Mm-hmm.
And then he can go with the low range where, like with the Cross, where it's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And one of my personal favorite songs is "I Can Never Take the Place of Your Man" from the Sign of the Times album.
Yep.
And he doesn't really do that in falsetto. He does that in his normal, deeper voice, and I think it's one of his best creations.
I think Dana tops us all, having seen him open for Rick James.
She definitely does.
Holy Moses, that's incredible.
I can only imagine.
What a show that must have been.
And I've heard stories about that tour where Prince and his band were actually outdoing Rick James, and Rick James got really jealous over that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a story that repeats itself over. She says she's old. That is not true. Because I know Jason and I are not old. I mean,
I'm starting to forget to take pills, man. So
me and my recurring back issues and all this kind of stuff.
Hey,
I don't.
After I got my second injection, I was happy I had symptoms because that means I was still holding on to the spark of youth.
There you go. I mean, I may be old, but I was around to see all the cool stuff happen. Musically and culturally. And I mean, I missed out on a lot of the good 60s stuff because I was just too young for that. But 70s and 80s, man, I was there for it.
Yep.
All right. So
like
talk
Bowie?
to me. Yes, exactly. I mean, I started listening to Top 40 radio. I don't know what age, but it was right around 74, 73, 74, that kind of thing. And Bowie's first hit in America was 75. So I was right in time to catch the beginning of his career in America.
Yep.
Same with all I mean, it's all a product of when you were born and when you started listening and stuff. But anyway, so 84 was when I started on my Prince journey.
Yeah. And I was more of an 80s child. So, Michael Jackson, Prince, Madonna.
Yeah.
Those are my people.
Yep. I know what you mean, man. So tell me, what are some of your highlights from your Prince collection? Like, do you have anything that's like unusual?
So I had a whole library of not legally acquired songs from that were allegedly from the vault.
Right.
So a lot of the stuff that is now being released by the estate, I've actually heard before or heard versions of.
Yeah.
And like one of the things I was actually really disappointed in that with the Sign of the Times re-release was there's a version of the yes, Dana, the Black Album was one of them. I had the Black Album long before.
Me too, buddy. Me too. Yep.
But I was really disappointed that that they had about 10 different versions of Hot Thing, which for me, from Sign of the Times, that's one of my least favorite songs. I'm not a big fan of Hot Thing all that much. But one of my favorite songs off that album is Starfish and Coffee. And there's a version of Starfish and Coffee that he did later on, that with the new Power Generation, a remake of it, that he actually had in the Muppet Show. And I love that version of the song.
Oh.
And they didn't release that. And I'm like, I was eagerly awaiting the release because I knew it was going to be on there. And the only copy that I have of it is a badly dubbed and acquired version that's not in 320, and sounds kind of crappy, but I can get through it because I love the song the way that he did it. But
well,
yeah,
maybe it will still come out when they do reissues of the NPG era stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I mean, I
hopefully.
would be surprised if it didn't. Of the stuff that they've released so far, have there been things that you haven't heard?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have anything off of the Welcome to America stuff, so that's all gonna be
Right.
new prints for me.
Oh yeah.
The let me pull up a list of the songs. If you just give me a second here. I will. Of course, you're gonna ask me right when I closed out that window and I'm looking at controversy. Let's see, off the re-releases. I didn't really know anything about the Versace Experience, so that was new stuff for me. Off the Purple Rain Deluxe, I had heard about the Velvet Kitty Cat song and Katrina's Paper Dolls, but I
Right.
didn't actually have copies of them. So
Right. I remember
yeah.
that. I remember having acquired some of your collection
Mm-hmm.
in a suspicious back alley transition that happened at Dragon Con.
Right.
And I don't remember those songs being in that stuff.
Right.
So I was pretty sure that you hadn't heard them, and which I think is really
Yep.
cool that there's as much stuff as we have, there's still more stuff to discover.
Oh yeah.
Like his vault is flipping cavernous.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I never heard any of the original stuff. I knew that he would create those tracks for like the Time and for Sheila and
Hmm.
for all of his proteges.
Yeah.
But I never heard his versions of those songs. So that was like Holly Rock to me
Yes.
is like the holy grail for me because I've seen it performed by Sheila in Crush Groove, right?
Right.
And
Absolutely.
I can't find the Crush Groove album, and I can't find it on any of her other albums.
No, it wasn't on any of hers, only on
Yep,
Crush Groove.
only on Crush Groove, right?
Uh-huh.
So the only version of that song that I have, and that's even anywhere, you can't even find it on YouTube, Alan. I looked.
Well, okay. There is a
The Crush
live
Groove
version.
version?
No, the live version from it was sort of like released as a single from the Crush Groove and her Crush Groove soundtrack,
Mhm.
and it was a concert clip that was
Right,
a video for it, which is so much better than the original version anyway.
right. But it's not there. It's not there
I
anymore. I
know,
looked, Alan.
I
I
know,
looked.
I know.
And so this is so when he released that on the original, or when they released that on the originals album,
Yeah,
that's the only version I have of that song, and I love that song. I think it's great.
yeah, and this is a killer collection.
Yeah.
This is so good. Baby, You're a Trip from Jill Jones's album, which is great. All kinds of stuff. Manic Monday is on here,
Mhm.
which I had never heard his version of Manic Monday.
Yep. And it
Um,
was interesting.
it is interesting because it's interesting that once they took it, it's almost identical to his recording,
Yeah.
but they add little things to it, like extra harmonies, and they change the arrangement just slightly in the bridge and things like that. And I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So I
what's he I'm sorry, Alan, go
no,
ahead.
you go right ahead.
No, I was just gonna say what's even interesting, like, is, in The Glamorous Life, they still left his backing track in it where he's, doing all the vocalizations, I," that kind of stuff. They left a lot of that stuff in there, and then in Crush Groove, they had a Prince lookalike guy that was vocalizing it in the
Mm,
movie for that live concert shot.
okay. Dana says Jill Jones
Yes.
Dana, do you have the Jill Jones album? Because I have the Jill Jones album. I have a story about that, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, oh, Phil brings up one of my absolute favorite Prince songs, Sugar Walls.
Sugar Walls. Yes.
Oh, I love that song. So good.
Gina. Yes.
Dana would like to know if either of us have been to Paisley Park.
I have.
I have not.
Yes.
So tell us all about it because
Yes.
I'm anxious to go.
In 2016, the year that he passed, my wife knew I was very, very upset that he was had passed away, and we were really worried that Paisley Park was gonna. They had briefly opened up Paisley Park to tours, and we didn't. For some reason, we thought in our mind that at some point that was just going to be a temporary thing. So I was lamenting that I'm never going to be able to go to Paisley Park, and I'm never going to be able to see anything. Well, this one over here, she's playing video games over here, surprises me on Christmas, with plane tickets to Minneapolis and a ticket to Paisley Park. And the waterworks started. Yes.
Of course.
There were waterworks. Everybody was crying. It was a mass hysteria. Thank God I don't wear mascara or it would have been running. It was something else, right? So went to Paisley Park. It was in mid-January in Minneapolis, y'all.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was an out-of-body experience. Prince was still there. They had his ashes in a replica of Paisley Park, and it was perched on top of an area in the main court area as you're walking into Paisley Park.
Wow.
So you could literally see Prince. So that was kind of an emotional experience that I think they thought better of eventually, because from what I understand, that's not those ashes have been moved since then. But everybody would walk in, they would see the ashes, the waterworks would start, and it would be something. And we got to go to Studio B, and actually record our voices singing a Prince song.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember which one I sung. I think we sung. Rita, what song did we sing during the Prince when we were at Paisley Park? Do you remember?
Raspberry Beret.
Raspberry Beret, that's what it was.
Oh.
Which is not one of my songs that I sing very well, but I did the best I could with it. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I remember that you had been able to do that. So I was planning on asking you that question anyway. So I'm glad Dana gave us a good segue right into that.
Yeah.
And she says she's good friends with Jill.
Is she really?
What?
Man.
Why did you not tell me that before tonight?
That's awesome. I can only imagine the stories Jill has. Oh.
I'm telling you. So my story about that is Prince in the mid 80s talked Warner Brothers into letting him start basically a vanity label called Paisley Park, where he signed up a bunch of friends and then eventually it branched out into other artists that he didn't have any direct dealings with, like Brown Mark from the Revolution brought in Maserati, and there were a couple of other ones after that.
Was that Brown Mark or was that Des Dickerson?
It was Brown.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I thought that was Des. Okay.
So I was like, big time Prince by this point. I mean, I jumped on board at 84. By 85, man, I was all in. So working at the record store at the time, I had access to everything. So I was buying every single Paisley Park release, every album, every 12-inch, anything. And a friend of mine named Ed has told me that I am the only person he's ever known who collected a record label. But through that, man, I've found all kinds of amazing stuff. Like probably the best Sheila E. song ever was on the flip side from the second album, Sister Fate, the first single from the second album before Love Bazaar came out.
Love Bazaar, okay.
And the flip side was a song called Save the People. And it's like an 8-minute Latin funk jam. And it was just phenomenal. And some of the best percussion. I mean, her percussion is, unimpeachable. It's no one can compare to it. But this was some of the best stuff she ever recorded, and I cannot find that song anywhere now, of course. And unfortunately, all that Paisley Park stuff is out of print, except for the Prince albums and the Sheila albums. They're basically the only ones you can get hold of. Everything else is long out of print because none of it really sold.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because there was some really great stuff on there. Some stuff that people would never have heard of. But it was really interesting stuff, and it just never caught on. And I don't know if Warner Brothers didn't promote it like they should have. I don't know. But that kind of gets into that whole like war that Prince had with Warner Brothers for the longest time. And, anyway. So another thing from Dana, who says 1999 tour, I caught the blue sweat towel from Dez and a guitar pick from Jesse. Dang. I don't have a towel, but I still have the pick. That's amazing. Wow. I can't even imagine seeing that show. That must have been an incredible show.
So was Dana a groupie?
Oh, I don't know.
It's just a question.
Am I getting on y'all's nerves? No, absolutely not.
Not at all.
Okay, so one of the things that I asked you to do was to have some of your, to do like our random album picks from your collection, and let's just talk about them.
Yes.
So let's do with your first one. And then we'll still take questions and comments from viewers while we're doing this.
My first one is an album from 2014. It's called Artificial Age. It was one that was a companion to his other album with Third Eye Girl, which was Plectrum Electrum. But I love this album. In fact, I need to go into a little bit of a story here, Alan. So I apologize for taking a couple minutes on this.
That's fine, no problem.
So after the Rainbow Children, I took a break from Prince.
Right.
Because once the Rainbow Children came out, I felt like I just didn't get him anymore. And I was going into my 90s grunge, listen to music like Pearl Jam and yes, Creed. I liked Creed. I don't care what people think. I did like Creed. And
nothing wrong with that.
I didn't listen to Nickelback though, so I didn't go that far. But I was listening to the harder stuff. I started listening to System of a Down, and I went back to some of the older stuff like Black Sabbath and Ozzy, and things like that. So, and I also got into the Beatles for some reason, and then fell in love with the Beatles. But during that period, I had literally stopped listening to Prince, and then one day I saw the album cover for Artificial Age, and I was like, Prince, looks like he's still making music after all these years. Let me check this one out. Maybe I'll get into him again. And sure enough, I bought this album, and it blew my mind. Just because it was an experimental album by Prince, where he was basically telling a narrative of him time traveling. And it was a sci-fi, experimental album from one of the greatest rock musicians that we've ever had. And to this day, I think about the song Way Back Home, which is where he talks about, I never wanted a beautiful wife, or no, beautiful life, trophy wife. All I wanted was to be left alone and to find his way back home, right? That's kind of the way the song goes, right?
Yep.
And when he died, that song really took a lot bigger meaning to me. Like a lot of folks like to go with Sometimes It Snows in April because he died in April. But for me, it's Way Back Home because it almost felt like he was talking about the end and trying to find his way back to heaven or what have you. So to me, that's one of his greatest songs. And plus, just the musicianship on all the songs. Funk and Roll was actually the first time that I heard it was actually during an NFL game, believe it or not. they were promoting the album, and they actually had it during like one of those highlight scenes with players hitting each other and stuff, and Funk and Roll was playing in the background, and you're like, huh, this is groovy. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I got the album and listened to the album, it was definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah. I liked it more than I thought I was going to, and I didn't at first. It took me a little time to really catch on to it.
That's the best Prince, Alan, is the one where you don't get it at first.
Exactly.
And after the 5th or 6th listen, you're like, I get it.
Right. All right. I have 2 boxes full of Prince CDs right here, one of which just fell and splattered all over the floor.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to do a random pull from mine. And it's funny. Okay. Now you mentioned Sometimes It Snows in April.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about that is he died on April 21st.
Yep.
2016. He recorded that song on April 21st, 1985.
Huh. I didn't even know that. Wow.
That's insane. So the song, for those who haven't heard it, is about mourning a loved one. It's about missing someone who's no longer there. And the fact that he recorded that, 3 decades earlier, on the day that he would pass away in 2016 is unbelievable.
That's a heck of a coincidence.
And just makes that song so much more. Okay, so did you see the Revolution when they came through a couple years ago?
I didn't see the Revolution, no, unfortunately.
Holy.
And I hate that I didn't get a chance to see them, but yeah, no, I didn't see them.
Yeah. Incredible show. Unbelievable. I mean, everybody thinks of them as the best band that he ever had.
Yeah.
Partly because of, well, I think so too. I mean, I think NPG was a spectacular band.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason that people connect with the Revolution is because it was around the Purple Rain time and the big hits in the 80s and all that stuff. But they came through, they played the Tabernacle here in Atlanta, and it was an incredible show. And they have not lost anything from their prowess. I mean, they are just incredible performers.
Was Andre lead singing that night?
No.
Andre Samo? No.
Uh-uh.
Oh, bummer.
It was mostly Brown Mark and Wendy, okay. And then they had a guy who was like a guest vocalist on anything that was like falsetto-y. So gotcha. Kiss, this other guy, and then of course at the end, Baby I'm a Star. They have, so I'm sure that this is pickup from whatever city they're playing in, but they had all these drag queens just come out on stage and just cool. Dance around, and it was unbelievable.
I bet that was awesome. That's cool.
Oh, that's him from Mint Condition. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
he was so good.
Yeah.
Man, he was like tore that stuff up. But it was and Dana saw that show at the Tabernacle. I didn't know her at the time, but we both were there.
Cool.
And that was just an amazing, amazing show. Oh my God. I was like,
go ahead. No,
I was just going to say it's one of my favorite shows that I've seen in the past 10 years.
Yeah, I was just noticing Dana had said that she left after the Gold Experience, which is a surprise to me because I love the Gold Experience.
I do too, man. I think that's a phenomenal album.
In fact, I was probably gonna pull that one out of the hat for one of my next ones.
All right, so for my first random pick, I come up with
Graffiti Bridge.
Graffiti Bridge.
Oh my gosh, that's a great album, though.
It is. It really is. It's a soundtrack for a movie. This time, unlike Purple Rain, it's not all Prince songs. It's a collection of other people. The Time, George Clinton. Just all, and a new kid called Tevin Campbell, who had a big hit from whatever this album is. What's the song?
Round
and Round. Yeah.
Yep.
Great song.
Yep.
All of it written by Prince, of course. And you can hear his stamp on it. It's interesting that on this, the original version of the George Clinton song, which ended up here, which is very different.
It's a different title.
Yes. It's a different title. Yeah. There's a C instead of an N.
Yes.
In the word funk.
Yes.
And it's really long.
Yes.
So I'm glad they only went with like a 4-minute version for this. But this is a killer album. The movie, what do you think of the movie? Yeah, that's what I think of it too.
Yeah.
But the album is really great.
The thing about the movie is it could have been so fantastic.
Yep.
But yeah.
The song New Power Generation.
Great song.
Terrific song. My favorite song, Elephants and Flowers.
Yes, Alan, you're my guy. Yes.
What
yes.
a fantastic song that is.
Fantastic.
All right. What's your second pick?
Okay, so for my second pick, I'm gonna go with Chaos and Disorder.
Yes.
Yes.
You know from previous that I love that album.
Yes, and the reason why I pick it is because it showed that Prince can still rock, and he rocked his ass off in that album. It was can I say ass? I don't know what your rating is on this show. Sorry, but
well, okay. I started with a clip of what was the song I started with?
Housequake.
Housequake.
Yep.
You know, so that tells you the words you can say on this show.
Okay, all right. So, but yeah, I mean, Chaos and Disorder. The title track's great. Dinner with Dolores is one of the coolest songs that he's done in years. At that point, I Rock, Therefore I Am. Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. And just the album itself, from beginning to end, I think is one of his stronger rock albums. So
absolutely,
I love that album.
And it's really much more, because Prince liked to do a lot of, I'm in the studio by myself and I have you guys around if I need a part added and to play it live.
Yep.
And this was definitely a band album.
Yeah.
And you can tell in the energy of it that it's, a group of people in a studio recording stuff together.
And even had Marquise rapping and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
And it was one of those toward the end of where he's just like putting out albums to get out of his Warner Brothers contract.
Yeah.
And it was kind of put together quickly, and you can kind of tell because of the energy of it, but it doesn't sound throwaway. Like every song on that album is just great. Oh man, I love that album so much. And no other person ever in the history of living on planet Earth would ever rhyme the word Dolores with Brontosaurus.
Yes.
I mean, that's a stroke of genius right there.
Yep. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
And I know what you mean about him just throwing out albums to try to fulfill the contract with Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
I always felt like the album Come was one of those.
It is. It's the last one, right?
Yeah.
The last one on Warner Brothers, isn't it?
No, I mean, Chaos and Disorder, I think, might have been the last one.
Okay.
Because that was the one that was right before Emancipation.
Emancipation, yeah.
But Come was definitely one of those that he just kind of threw out there. And there are some good songs on there, but it's...
I think it's a fantastic album. I love
it. There are also some songs on there that I can definitely forget about.
Yeah, only a couple for me though. I mean, mostly that album is really strong, I think.
You think so? Okay.
I do. I absolutely love it. I don't think it's as good as Chaos and Disorder.
Yeah, I wasn't maybe I'm not just into the techno kind of vibe of that album that much, but I'm not a boots and pants kind of guy.
Right.
Boots and pants and boots and pants. Sorry.
All right, let me see if you have this.
Uh-oh. Dana just pulled out a cool one for me though.
Joy in Repetition?
Oh, I love that song. I love that song.
And she says, what about the Girl 6 soundtrack? That's one of the things that's on the floor now because one of my boxes of CDs crashed and burned. But yeah, I've got it right here.
Yep, and it is underrated, I think. It's
totally.
An underrated album.
Absolutely.
Movie I'm not too crazy about, but the album itself had some great songs. She Spoke to Me. It was a great song.
All right. Let me get the logo going around.
And see Batman. Okay, all right.
In the Metal 10.
In the Metal 10.
Yes.
Oh.
It opens up.
I do not have that version.
You got your liner notes on round insert here.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh my gosh, yes. One of the advantages of managing a record store at the time that all this stuff was coming out.
All right, Alan, I'm sorry. I got to just say, Wrecker Stowe.
Wrecker Stowe. Exactly.
Come on.
Absolutely. That was one of my favorite scenes in that movie. All right, so the Batman soundtrack, which was basically, it's another one of those that's just him in the studio. just him making music in a studio. And Dana says the Batman soundtrack was everything.
And it
And
was.
Vicky Waiting. Man, I love that
Yes.
song.
Great song.
Love it. Mark
Yep.
Heffernan, Trust is my favorite Prince song.
There
That's
you
awesome.
go. Yeah, that's cool.
That is super cool. I love this album so much.
Yeah. My personal favorite off that song, other than the normal favorites, Party Man and Bat Dance and all that, is Electric Chair.
Dude, that's a brilliant song.
That is a freaking awesome
Absolutely
song.
brilliant song. If a man can be considered guilty for all the crimes he's gonna, this is a paraphrase, all the crimes he's gonna commit, then put me in the electric chair now. Dude, that's amazing.
Yep.
Oh my God, that is amazing. But such an incredibly strong album. Just phenomenal. I should look it up and see if the metal 10 is worth anything at this point.
It's gotta be. I haven't seen that in a long time.
I don't have a whole lot of collectible stuff, but that's one of the cool ones that I have.
And Dana's mentioning the Scandalous Sex Suite. That was great stuff. And allegedly, it had Kim Basinger. Really providing vocalization for that.
Vocalizations, yes, exactly. All right, go ahead with your next pick, and I'm going to pick up all the shit on my floor that spilled.
Let me see what I got. Trying to think. How about 3121? 3121 had some amazing freaking songs on it. Black Sweat, of course, was a big hit off this album, but my personal favorites off that album were Lolita, because it was just such a funky song, and then Fury, which combined the Prince rock with funk, with everything you absolutely love about Prince. And I think it's one of his best songs that he's done since 2010, I guess. So that's mine. What do you think, Alan? Oh, Alan, I think, is still doing his thing. Dana? Mark? So my pick was 3121, Alan.
Excellent pick.
Yep. So I was just talking about, obviously the big hit with Black Sweat, 3121, the title track. Lolita is one of my favorites.
Lolita was not released as a single, and
it should have been, right?
That is the stupidest move that was ever made. That is such a catchy tune.
Yes.
That would have done well had it been released.
And my wife and I were always doing the whole, the whole dance thing, dance, what?
Man. I love
then, of course, and I was just talking about Fury, which had Prince funk, Prince rock, and just the energy of that song is just fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So here's my next pick that I just grabbed out of the box that was on the floor and now is back on my table. Raven to the Joy Fantastic. This is a really interesting album. So this was on RCA. He had done a lot of like non-label stuff, after he left Warner Brothers. And this was his first time back on a major label, on Arista, sorry. And Clive Davis had just worked his magic of making Santana big and relevant and famous and successful again by having a bunch of guest musicians come on and do an album with him, which resulted in the big hit that he had with Rob Thomas, and that kind of stuff. And so he tried to work the same magic with Prince. So he got Sheryl Crow and a few other people to like jump in and do songs, but they didn't release any of the good songs. The Sheryl Crow song, which is Baby Knows. I love that song.
Yeah.
That's another really catchy one that could have done well on radio and it wasn't released. But this is a great album. It's got a lot of really weird, interesting stuff on it.
The title track is kind of catchy too.
It is, yes, without a doubt. Undisputed is really good. Greatest Romance Ever Sold.
pretty
was
cool.
the single.
Yeah, it was
I
decent.
don't think it was the right single to pull.
Yeah,
I don't think it really sold the album.
yeah, I agree
Um,
with that.
but it was good, you know. Excellent album. Excellent album. So this one came out in right around the turn of the millennium, and he did the big concert to usher in the year 2000.
Yep.
Where he played 1999 for the first time in like however many years it had been or whatever.
Yep, and then remixed it.
And then did the remix. Yeah, that remix
Yep.
was really cool. All right, what you got next?
So Lotus Flower.
Yes!
Great.
The whole collection?
Yes.
The whole 3 CD?
Yep, Lotus Flower, MPL Sound, Elixir, but primarily for me, Lotus Flower, because it has one of the best Prince covers or cover that Prince did that I've heard. You know, obviously, Betcha by Golly Wow was great, and you know he had done a few other decent covers. I think he covered One of Us in one of his albums.
Yeah.
But Crimson and Clover.
Yeah.
Oh, the way that he put together that song. I mean, it sounds like a Prince song. Like he wrote it, but you know, it's just fantastic. And Colonized Mind is one of even today it's a relevant song. But I got to tell you, Rita ruined that song for me. And I'm going to tell you how.
Okay.
So there's a line in the song where he says down low and then goes into his verse, right?
Yeah.
She thought he was saying Rob Lowe. So now every time I freaking hear that song, hear down low, I hear Rob Lowe. And it's like, now it's the Rob Lowe song.
That's
great. Thanks.
hilarious.
Thank you, babe.
That is hilarious. All right. I got two that I pulled out from my Paisley Park collection. Paisley Park
proteges.
Exactly. Paisley Park has got such great stuff. The only hits that they ever had were Prince and Sheila singles. There were other ones that should have been, but like they didn't even chart. It wasn't like they didn't make the top 40. They just never entered the chart, which is a crime. And the first one, I just wanted to highlight this really quickly since Dana mentioned it earlier, and that's the Jill Jones album, which is pretty good. It's got a couple of really great songs on it. A lot of it I'm not too into. There's a couple that Prince co-wrote. Violet Blue is a spectacular song. And then there's a really good dancey one called For Love, which is just cool. It's an enjoyable album, and Mia Boko was the single off of it. Didn't chart or anything, but it's a catchy little tune. So I would recommend, if you can find this anywhere or find it, like song by song on YouTube, I would do it. One that most people don't know about is Dale Bozzio, who was the lead singer of Missing Persons. Released an album on Paisley Park. Prince wasn't really involved in this. It was someone else. But this is such a cool tune. If you're into Missing Persons or Dale or any of that stuff, this is a killer album. The first single is called Simon Simon, and it is so great. It's possibly my favorite single that was released on any Paisley Park album.
Cool.
It's so good. And it's not as good as some of the Missing Persons stuff, but Simon Simon, I think, is the best song she ever recorded. And there's a couple other ones on here that are really catchy too. So I would look for either of those. Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to the proteges, you are the man for that, because the only proteges I really listened to were The Time and Sheila, because I had a huge crush on Sheila. I was in love with
who
Sheila.
didn't?
And so this is off the Glamorous Life album, so it's not really a hidden gem album.
Yeah.
But there's a song on that album called The Bell of St. Mark. And it is one of my favorite Prince songs ever, because you could tell it's a Prince song through and through. But Sheila's just singing it. And I love that song. And I still, it's still on my playlist of Prince songs to this day, because it's just totally Prince, especially that era.
Oh yeah. And that's what's so interesting. He was so incredibly prolific that he's writing these amazing hit albums for himself. He's writing complete full albums of material for the time and other artists. And he's writing songs for, like all these other, there was a couple of covers, like, who was it that recorded and had the big hit with, Do Me Baby. I can't remember who it was that recorded that, but had a huge hit with it. I know Dana will know. So she's going to, and Dana
I know Chaka Khan did I Feel For You.
That was awesome. I love the way that she completely transformed that song into something really unique.
Yeah, she made it into an 80s song for sure. Yep.
Dana's bringing up Apollonia 6.
Yes, I actually did have Apollonia 6 as well as Vanity 6.
Right.
So, yeah.
Oh, man.
Nasty girl.
Nasty girl.
Yeah.
You know it. You know it. Anyway, but that's one of the great things about this album, which we were talking about earlier. She says Mickey Howard. It was not Mickey Howard. That's close, though. It's around that same era.
I don't remember.
Is that you've got like 100 Miles an Hour, which was a song that Maserati recorded. The original version shows up here, and it's basically the Maserati album was put together by Brown Mark, and the only Prince song on it is 100,000 Miles an Hour. And it's good. It's a great song. So this is, if you haven't picked this up, this is such a good album.
Get the originals. It's great.
Absolutely. It's so cool. All right. Do you have a next pick? You done?
Let me see.
Because I got 2 boxes of stuff I can just grab from.
Just keep going. Let me see. I did have my eye on one that I was going to grab. Let me see if I can find it again.
And I am going to look up Do Me Baby.
I'm just going to go with Crystal Ball.
Yes.
Because Crystal Ball was a crazy album.
Yes, it was.
3 discs. Well, 4 if you count the companion disc, Kama Sutra. And it had so many great songs, so many weird songs. He basically emptied the vault.
Basically, yeah.
Of stuff that he wanted to release at that point in time.
Right.
And there were some great songs: Chlorine Bacon Skin, Sexual Suicide.
Suicide.
Yeah.
If you remember the liner notes, he based off of a drum lick that Sheila E. taught him. She's like, listen to this cool beat. And she played it, and he like wrote a song to that beat. And it's so awesome. Favorite song on the collection.
And my favorite song on the collection is actually The Ride, because it is the bluesiest thing.
Yeah.
And I actually saw the video where they recorded it live, and he is, I mean, the guitar playing on that particular song is probably some of the best I've seen him do. And, he's legendary. So we've seen him do amazing stuff, Purple Rain, what have you. Yeah. But just the way that he's able to deliver the blues on that song, my God, it's a must listen if you've never heard it.
Agreed. Also part of that collection, disc 4, The Truth, which is the...
That's right, it was The Truth, not the Kama Sutra, sorry.
Basically, the solo acoustic album. It's just him and an acoustic guitar with a little bit of like effect overlay or whatever. And it's just spectacular. And that's coming out as a standalone album on LP on Record Store Day this year. So if anybody has not heard that, it is so good. It's just Prince sitting by himself in a studio with an acoustic guitar playing songs. And it is great. It is absolutely great. All right. So I guess my last pick is going to be Diamonds and Pearls. Oh my gosh. I love this album so much.
I have a love and hate relationship with Diamonds.
Do you?
And Pearls. Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that.
I love Rosie Gaines.
Hell yeah, Rosie Gaines.
Rosie is awesome.
Yes.
But there are some songs where Rosie is just overpowering the song, and she goes into her and and she does it on Crystal Ball too, where Emancipation, where the Jam of the Year song, which is a great freaking song, until Rosie cuts and go, yeah. And I just can't.
I know what you mean.
It
Yeah.
ruins the song for me. And I love Rosie. She's fantastic. But
yeah. Emancipation. That's a really good collection.
But yeah, back to which one were you doing again? I'm sorry.
Diamonds and Pearls.
Diamonds and Pearls, yes. There are some songs on Diamonds and Pearls that I just don't get.
Okay.
And let me pull up the list so I can remember what's on the track because I'm getting old now. Daddy Pop is one of them.
Oh, I love that.
Really? You like that one?
I do. I love it.
Don't like that
and
song.
I knew you were going to say that one too.
and I don't like Jughead either. It's
No,
not
I don't
one
either.
of my favorites.
No.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are some fantastic songs.
Mhm.
Thunder is a amazing song.
Yes, it is.
And
Yes, it is.
Just the whole, Arabic kind of ding, ding, I mean, it's just great sounding song.
Yeah.
Live for Love with the whole, being in the cockpit and,
Yeah.
that thing and all the synthesizers and all that stuff. That's a cool song too.
Yeah. One of the things that I love about this album is that it's one of the band albums.
Yes.
This is one that, Thunder is just him in the studio. Everything else on the album is the full band.
Yes.
And it, to me, that just makes an enormous difference for the way an album comes across.
Right.
It's, I love the collaborative nature of a band, basically. But Get Off is a phenomenal song.
Yeah. And I like the extended version better than the regular version. But
Money Don't Matter Tonight was a nice song.
Fantastic song.
Decent song. Diamonds and Pearls, of course, was a huge hit.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's a great album. I love
it. I like Cream. My wife's not too crazy about the song, but I actually do like it.
I do too. All right. Well, we are at an hour. Do you have any last thing that you would like to say about Prince? Anything that we haven't covered? Anything like what's your favorite performance by Prince? What's your favorite anything? I mean,
well, we should talk about Purple Rain a little bit more because that's how a lot of people really got into Prince.
Okay.
And for me, Purple Rain has always been the complete album. Every album that you listen to, there's a song that you may or may not like.
Yes.
With Purple Rain, there is no song on that album that I don't like.
It is a perfect album from start to finish. It is a complete work.
Yeah. And it's an album that I think the way that it is constructed is just perfection. If you go back to the A side and B side, the way that I listened to it when I was because I'm an old man and I listened to it when it was a Rekka from the Rekka right? And when Doves Cry kicks off the B side, and it's just I mean, you take When Doves Cry by itself, where he just decides to cast off the bass line, and just go. Nobody does that, and everybody told him, "You're crazy, man! Don't do that." And it's one of the biggest hits ever.
Yeah.
And of course, the title track, brings you to tears every single time you think about it, and his concert versions of those songs of Purple Rain would last 8 minutes in length, where he would have these epic guitar solos. And I mean, it's just an amazing album. And I think it's deserving of being in Rolling Stone's top 100 albums, of all time.
Without a doubt.
Frankly, it's up there for me as, one of the top 5, if not number 1. But of course, I'm a little bit biased.
Since we're talking about that, let me see if I can grab it real quick. Since we're talking about that, there was a thing in particular that got released on the expanded edition that you were super excited about.
Yes.
What was it?
Remind me, because I'm old.
It was the Computer Blue. It was the full-length version of Computer Blue.
The elevator version of Computer Blue, of course. Yes. I had it. I had versions of that, but I never had the entire elevator version. And for anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's basically the elevator hallway speech version of Computer Blue. It is a 12-minute, 18-second masterpiece, and he goes into all kinds of philosophical stuff. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Right.
And for years, I had been searching for that version of the song because I had heard it rumored that it was out there, and yeah, I was so excited that they released it on the extended edition.
Hmm.
Another one that I was really excited about was the version of Possessed.
Hmm.
Um, although the version that came on this one uh, wasn't the one that I was actually looking for. I was looking for the one that came on one of the other releases. Um, but it's still a cool song. Possessed is a great song.
Hmm.
And then the one other thing was the Father song, the piano version of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
War.
Yeah.
And the last one that I was really excited about, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep going, but
Quite all
uh,
right.
is the instrumental version of God.
Hmm.
Uh, for those that don't know which version that is the music that plays when Prince and Apollonia are first, you know, getting amorous. And
Well put.
for a long time, I've had the version where he actually sings in it, but I'd never had the instrumental version, so
Hmm.
that was a big get for me as well.
Yeah. Um, I have one that's so far never been released on CD. On Kiss, the single. The
Mhm.
flip side was Love or Money,
Yes, yeah,
heart or dollar sign,
yep,
basically. That's my favorite Prince. Like Prince, the B-sides were as important as anything that went on the album. There were no
mhm,
throwaway songs, and you had to get all the singles to get all the really good stuff.
yep,
And the 12-inch version of that, I love. And I was hoping when the first big greatest hits box set that he put out, the 3-disc one, the third disc was all B-sides.
mhm,
No
but
Love or Money.
yeah, that one wasn't there.
And so far, there's not been a release of the 12-inch of it. And I don't think the 7-inch has even been released on any
Mm-mm.
CD collection. So I'm still hoping for that. Like maybe when Parade
Yeah,
gets released and remastered and, expanded, maybe it'll
yep,
be on that.
we can
But
hope.
oh my
Yeah,
God, that's such a great jam.
yeah,
Okay, back to talking about albums earlier that he recorded and never released, the Black Album.
yes.
Holy shit, that's a good album.
It's
Oh my
it's
God.
cool, it's crazy. Uh, Cindy C is one of the
Yes.
nuttiest songs that you'll ever hear Prince do, but
Yes.
God, it's so good.
I mean, he calls her a superfine heifer.
Yeah.
I mean, but the opening song, The Grind,
Yes.
oh my God,
Yes.
just blows me away.
Up and
And
down, up and
God,
down.
I love that album so much.
Yes.
So if there's no last question or comment from viewers, get it in the next 30 or so seconds. Um, Jason, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this past hour, reliving our Prince collection and career as a fan. What's one of your favorite moments as a Prince fan? Like one of the
Oh.
coolest things that ever happened because of being a Prince fan?
Oh, okay. So while I was at Paisley Park, they had a thing called Paisley Park After Dark. And we went to, and we were just kind of hanging out with these folks, and didn't know them from Adam. You know, we were watching people dance. I don't really do dancing all that much. I got 2 left feet, and I'm cross-eyed, and so it's a disaster show if I get on the dance floor. But I can sit in a chair and kind of groove with everybody else, right? And we happened to be sitting next to Omar, Prince's stepbrother.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know that until he said, "Yeah, I'm Prince's stepbrother." And I'm like, "Oh, well,
Wow.
hello." And obviously it was right after Prince died, so sorry for your loss and everything. But yeah, he kind of hung out with us the whole night. So that was one of the coolest things
Oh,
that's happened to
wow.
me
That's so neat.
as a Prince fan. Yep.
That's really cool. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your stories with me and with our audience and pulling out some highlights from your album collection. And, it's just been a really fun hour, and I really appreciate you doing this with me.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me, because I mean, I know there's a million Prince fans out there that could probably talk about Prince. So thank you for thinking of me,
Oh, yeah.
and I appreciate it.
Well, going back to 2016, some of the people watching might not know that I run a Doctor Who convention for 100 years now.
Do you?
And
Oh, wow.
I know, right? And 2016 was such a brutal year for musician deaths.
Yes.
I mean, just like every week, another notable name dropped, just the craziest thing. So my convention took place in May, and we were planning a Bowie, because Bowie died that same year in January. I was planning on doing a Bowie, would show videos and just people would sing along, and we would have a big party, not karaoke because we would still be having the videos play, but everybody could just sing along with it. And then 3 or however many weeks before the convention, Prince dies. And I'm like, holy crap, we can't let that go by.
Yeah.
So we just made it a whole thing of a mix of Prince and Bowie videos.
That was cool too.
It was one of the most fun things that we ever did in the history of my convention. That was one of the highlights that I think was just incredible.
Yeah,
it was so much fun.
Yeah, a lot of people had a lot of fun at that night.
Yeah. And it was such a great way to sort of celebrate these two massive talents and kind of, say your goodbye in a celebratory way, It was just, oh my God, I'm so glad we did that.
Yeah, me too. It was fun.
All right. So I guess that's it for us for the night. So no last questions. Thank you, everybody who watched. Thank you for all the people who pitched in comments and questions. We really appreciate it. I will be here next Sunday night with my buddy Ashley Rayburn. We're going to be talking lots of Paul McCartney stuff, particularly the recent solo album, McCartney 3, and the new reimagined version of that just came out this week. We're going to be talking all that kind of stuff. On May 9th, we're going to be talking all about Rush with Vicky Hudson, who's the lead singer of the local Rush tribute band, Spirit of Rush. And then I've got a bunch of other things coming up. So I hope you'll join me next Sunday. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. That would be lovely, because I can't assign a URL name to my channel until I get 100 people. So I need 100 people. So
that's how that works. Okay.
It is, yeah. And it's a climb to get to 100, let me tell you. But anyway, so thank you, everybody, for being with us. I hope you'll all go and listen to some Prince music tonight and for the coming week, because the 21st is the Wednesday, right? Tuesday or Wednesday. That's going to be a rough day.
It will be. It always is. But it's also a celebration. So,
Phil, one last comment. Great show. I'm going to have to check out some of those Prince albums. Please do. That's one of the reasons that I wanted to do this, to highlight some of the maybe lesser known Prince albums, because 35 albums. I mean, holy smokes. Nobody does 35 albums.
Yeah, and just real quick, Alan, I just wanted to say that, when I quit Prince after the Rainbow Children, after he passed away, I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to go back and pick up from where I left off. And I discovered so many great albums, so much amazing music that I kicked myself for not listening to it when it first came out.
Yeah, because there were so many things that were only released digitally, to his fan club and stuff like that. They were complete albums, like Slaughterhouse, which is just a phenomenal album.
Yes.
Holy smokes, it's such a great album. So there's all kinds of stuff to uncover once you start digging through it.
Yep. So if you were like me and you gave up on Prince at some point, go back and check, and you will not be disappointed.
And in fact, the last 2 albums he put out, Hit and Run,
they're great.
2 volumes. The last one, Hit and Run Volume 2, is so good. Baltimore, one of my favorite songs from his late period. Oh my gosh, just great. Screwdriver, which was a standalone single from a year or 2 earlier. Terrific song. Could have been a hit had it been released on a major label to pop radio.
Yep.
Just some great stuff to uncover.
Yep.
So, I hope everybody will go and explore the Prince catalog that's available and look forward to the new stuff that's coming out. Welcome to America comes out in May.
Yep.
I don't remember the date because I never remember dates, but it's coming out in May. So I'm excited about that. Once again, thank you all so much. Have a great night. Spread love wherever you go. Take care of each other, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Jason. Take care.